Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video we're traveling to the very beautiful and remote Alberta. I mean, parts of it are. It's pretty big. When a deer head that was very dear to some people's heads went missing, that would be key to solving a mystery. That, and maybe a little honey from Mr. Big. Okay, now I'm hearing it out loud. It's not what that just sounded like. Family dramas are, always pretty interesting, and this is one of those. It's especially interesting when a fella says that one of those family members is talking to him. And they're a ghost. So, look forward to that. Let's give it a go. So, before we get to the who, we gotta get to the where. And where is where? Well, that is the town of Castor. I mean, kinda, sorta. That's like the nearest place to where we're going. It is in central Alberta. It's about halfway between Edmonton and Calgary. I mean, halfway if you're prepared to go way out of your way. And what will you find there? Sweet F all. About 900 people and farms. That's about the height of it. It's sort of similar to the places we've seen before. Lots of small dirt roads, places to hide, and remain unseen. If something goes wrong out there, it might just stay that way. And something did. On Sunday, the 8th of December 2013, for a family of cow farmers. The Klaus family. That morning was extremely cold, minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 22 Fahrenheit, and through that bitter cold and frozen roads, a fire truck was bombing it. A house was on fire, engulfed in flames, really. At 7:25 a.m, a fire truck loaded with volunteer firefighters rocked up after receiving a call. And as they pulled in, outside the house, feet from the inferno, they saw a dead chocolate lab retriever. It had an injury to the head. And closer to the house, maybe 6 feet from it, there was a red plastic jerry can, partially melted from the heat, and it still had gasoline inside. The RCMP arrived about 30 minutes after the firefighters did, but there was little that could be done. Right? It was engulfed in flames already. The house was destroyed. If they pumped water on it, the water would just freeze, destroying any kind of scene. So just let it burn itself out. So as the police started poking around the outskirts while things burned, they wanted to see what they could see. And what they saw were 2 9mm shell casings. And the dog, Keela, the head injury, it had been shot. Later, when the flames died down and the investigation could begin proper inside the Klaus home, would be 3 bodies. Gordon Klaus had been married to Sandra Klaus for 41 years in 2013. Gordon was a local fella, attended school in Castor, was a star athlete, and his high school sweetheart was, well, Sandra, who was also from the area. Farming would be the name of the game for Gordon. Sandra would work as a telephone operator and then at the Alberta School Hospital in Red Deer. In 1971, Sandra and Gordon would welcome their first child to the world, a daughter named Lisa. Lisa would be followed by another sister 2 years later, but tragically, she would never meet her younger brother, who would be born in 1975. See, in October 1973, on Thanksgiving Day in Canada, Lisa, at 2 years old, she would have a farming accident and pass away. This was, as you can imagine, pretty devastating to the Klauses, but it helped bring them together as they welcomed, their third child, Jason, their son, and they grew their farm north of Castor. Sandra worked on the farm full-time, but as the children grew older and she was needed less and less around the house and farm, she once again went back to work at a hospital. This time, Our Lady of the Rosary in Castor, where she started in 2003. Easygoing, mild-mannered Monica grew, attended school in Castor, and would work at a lawyer's office, and then as a payroll administrator. When she wasn't doing that, she'd be active in the local golf league, helping out on the farm at weekends, and out hunting with her brother Jason, whom she was very tight with. Neither married nor had kids. Jason would follow in Papa's boots, working full-time on the farm. Jason, he wasn't paid a salary, working on his dad's farm full time, but his dad would give him a few bob every now and then, go out for a few beers, enjoy yourself. He was also living on the Klaus property in a trailer about 3 minutes away from the family house. A lot of land out there, I guess. He had his own separate driveway and all, and he could have parties and do all this kind of shindigs, and then go to work with Dad. And so it was on the morning of the 8th of December. Well, a neighbour of the Klauses, they saw the fire, they called the fire department, and at 7:15 a.m. they also rang Jason, letting him know that things weren't good, to say the least. His parents' house was crispy, I'd say. Jason arrived completely distraught, being held back from running into the burning house. And he was there to tell the emergency services that, well, Gordon, Sandra, and Monica were in the house. It was obvious, from the start, this was no accident. Bullets, gasoline, yeah. Though they didn't rule out, an accident and call it homicide right away, that was in big letters up here. As the forensics team and all that came in, the bodies were discovered. Well, some of them. Gordon and Monica were found. Sandra, her body was never found or identified. She's presumed to have been incinerated in the heat of the fire. Patches the dog, Monica's beloved, was also never found. It was 2 days after the incident, on the 10th of December, that Jason was brought in. Did the family have any, enemies who would be responsible? I mean, just off the dome. What do you think happened here? Any help would be good. Well, weirdly, he was thinking of a very valuable deer head that was in the house. According to him, the only thing worth a damn. 6 years before the fire, in the town of Coronation, about 25 minutes away, Jason had shot and killed a whitetail. I mean, he was saying that mounted deer head would be worth $200,000 for a deer head. I don't know anything about hunting. A quick Google tells me that's a lot. That sounds like bullshit. That it's worth that much. Come on now. It sounds like a lie. You're gonna hear me say that a lot in this one.
And the only reason I'm thinking it's foul play is because of what was inside the house, which was a deer head of mine that was worth a lot of money. Like we're talking around the $200,000. It was a real big deer head. It was one of the biggest ones around. Like it was, not far from the world record kind of deer head. And that's the only thing I can think of that somebody would come in to steal or try to steal. But I don't know if that stuff burns in the fire. I don't know if there'll be proof of antlers. I don't know.
But at the time, as the investigation was ramping up, it seemed like the only possible motive. And Jason, who was emotional, grieving, became angry at the RCMP, who seemed to be dragging their feet. And when they told him they hadn't found Sandra, his own mother, he said they were lying to him. He said they were bullshitting. Now, Gordon's car was missing from the scene. It would be found on the 11th, 3 days after the fire, on the other side of Castor. But a few things about Jason seemed off. One thing was that he seemingly knew the truck was missing before anybody else knew the truck was missing. He also knew that a gun had been used before the police even found shell casings. Well, as word began to spread, Jason, he had a good answer for how he knew all this stuff. You know where it came from? Other side. Time to suit up. Boop. Get your, shitty cold spot guy, camera, you know what I mean. Ghosts. We're going ghost hunting. As the embers cooled at the site of the now destroyed Klaus abode and weeks passed, Jason Klaus, now sole member of the family, began telling people something very interesting. And, well, kind of spooky. Ghosts, Sixth Sense, you know that movie? That's that. Yeah, this is when the story becomes kind of weird, not gonna lie. As the weeks, went on after the fire, Jason told 4 separate people. 3 of them related to the family, aunts, uncles. One of them was an arson investigator for the insurance crowd, that he had seen ghosts. And they told him what had happened that night. Now, all his stories were different. He never told the same story twice. But he would say, he saw his sister Monica, or he saw a couple of ghosts, and Monica was one of those ghosts. And she, shot the shit with him, as you do. So no story was the same, which always a key indicator of the truth. No bullshit allowed here. But all stories basically went a little something like this. Settle in, this is a good one. That morning, when Jason arrived at the burning house, he saw spirits at the edge of the driveway, and they spoke to him, telling him they knew who the killer was, but don't worry about it, don't even speak to the cops about this. Just focus on the farm. They told him the killer came in and shot them all in the head before setting the house on fire, and the victims were all dead before the place went up. They said the killer used a 9mm handgun and had thrown it in the river. Not only that, they gave him a description of the killer, someone younger than Jason, with a beard, living in Castor. This guy apparently had mental health issues and was known to the Klaus family.
Man, there's Monica's talked to you. Your dad has talked to you. Did this guy go with the intent to kill your family? He had a gun, or was it a gun that he got from your house?
Oh no, it was his own. He did go there with intent, but I think he went there just to make sure he was going to get away with that deer.
Whoa. Spooky. Or what? What? Definitely what? So not only did Jason's accounts of what the ghosts were telling him change, his whereabouts did too. He was at the bar. Oh, maybe he was with friends. Oh, of course, Jason. He was a big old farm boy. He kept his nose clean. When in fact he did the opposite. He'd shove whatever he could up there. But I guess there really is nothing to do in Castor. As for suspects who could have done this, well, maybe it was a hunter who wanted that deer head worth 200,000 Canadian dollars. Apparently, according to Jason.
RCMP Major Crime Unit investigators believe the fire at the Klaus residence in Castor on December 8, 2013 was set intentionally. Although the cause and origin is still under investigation, police can share that on December 13, the Calgary Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that the family dog that had been found deceased by first responders at the scene had suffered a fatal gunshot wound. It is believed that the death of Gordon and Monica Klaus are as a result of a homicide, and today Sandra Klaus has not been located. Our investigation suggests that she was also the victim of a homicide. Sandra Klaus remains have not yet been located.
So back to the ghost stories, the real line of inquiry. The descriptions led to a guy named Josh Frank, who lived in Castor. He was a welder for a pipeline. And he had known Jason almost his whole life. He was questioned, but denied having anything to do with it, and he passed a polygraph test. Jason, all the stories and rumors about him and his bullshit, that led to him being more and more of a suspect in his own family's murder. And he also refused to take a polygraph.
Did you kill Gord, Sandy, Monica Klaus?
No, I did not. And I would gladly take a lie detector test, and I did not kill them. I did not start the fire. I don't know how they got killed or murdered or anything else.
Should I believe you?
I would hope you would believe me. Yes, you should believe me. Yes. And for someone to accuse me of that, it doesn't make me mad. It doesn't make me sad. It hurts. It really. No, and the reporter asked me that too. And no, it had nothing to do with this fire or whatever, however they died. Being murdered, being stabbed, being whatever they were. I don't know. I don't know how they died yet. I don't know if they felt the fire. I don't know.
Give me one reason why I should believe you.
One reason to believe me, because I lived for that family farm. Okay? I've been there 38 years on that farm. Had breakfast, dinner, supper. Yeah, Dad and I would bunt heads once in a while. Mom and I would bunt heads once in a while. Monica and I, she always looked out for my girlfriends. She would never like any of my girlfriends. But there was never a time where I would not want them in my life for any reason. Like that
I know that's a question you have to ask me, but
Jason, if what you just told me right now is the truth, if what you just told me is the truth,
could you? Okay, go ahead.
You have nothing to worry about.
Could you kill your parents?
If what you told me is the truth, you have nothing to worry about.
I don't have nothing to worry about, and I don't.
And so, kind of when not much to go on, the police decided to bring in someone. How about, let's get a little bit more on Jason. And that someone was Mr. Big. These were some guys who maybe wanted to store some things on Jason's farm, and they would pay top dollar for it. Mr. Big might also be connected, and maybe they would be able to make police investigations disappear. He met these guys in April 2014, 4 months after the fire. And they would go to strip clubs and bars together. They would be new busy mates. And he would even join these guys on some illegal activities, like protection rackets and assaults too. Of course, this was all bullshit. The cops were setting it up to make it look, so legit to Jason. These are like The Sopranos or something. Jason was only too happy to have some new friends who he thought were like real cool dudes, And, best of all, didn't these new friends of Jason's have, perhaps, an uncle dying of cancer in the hospital? Who, he was already 1 foot in the grave. Well, maybe he would be prepared to tell the police anything they wanted to hear. He would confess to anything, so long as this dying uncle's daughter got some money. So Jason's new friends said to him, "Tell us exactly what happened in minute detail. We'll pass it on to the dying uncle, and the investigation will disappear." Well, Jason, he was, quote, licking his chops at that prospect. So Jason, trying to make himself look like the prettiest girl at prom, decided to tell these undercover cops a little bit about what actually happened to his family. He told them he had plotted to murder them, but he didn't pull no trigger. No, the person who pulled the trigger was who the ghosts were pointing at. Josh Frank. Jason invited Josh around to meet his new big shot buddies, cool dudes that Josh, he would want to hang out with too. And Josh was only too happy to try and impress them by telling them how he murdered an innocent family.
He's got some issues, and okay. I don't believe in pissing around. I'm a good guy. He'll vouch for me.
Yep.
I didn't know about you at all. I've got a way to help him out. He's met me out. I don't know if he's told you. I've got an uncle dying of cancer. Okay, he's
sorry to hear that.
But he ran pretty long and hard his whole life. He's got a granddaughter, and it's got not much. So somehow, like if the granddaughter was able to be, a little help, but that's beside the point.
I told him exactly what happened, so that's all. How we planned it. Remember how we did everything?
Yeah. So nobody lies to me, and I get everything right. Okay.
You ask him whatever.
You go over there and talk to the boy. Jump up front.
Betcha.
The sooner we get this done, the better.
Yeah, no, I agree, buddy.
Josh.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like
Todd, right?
Todd. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. And you can, if you don't like anything I'm asking you, there's the door handle. You can buck off anytime. And I got a question. I am dying to ask you after what he told me. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when it's coming because you're gonna die laughing when it's coming. Okay.
Okay.
The deal is, mom, pop, sister gone.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, went into the house.
No. Start back how it came about, so I can get it through the math. Because I'll explain to you after. But there's a reason for my asking, like to start right at the very beginning, because
You just want to know.
I'll put it this way: if I said to you that Goldilocks woke up and the bed wasn't right and she ran out, you'd go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But if I started the story at the beginning of her walking through the woods, then I can relay that to Uncle.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Okay.
Okay.
So. This whole thing happened in February. December, you're right. Do you remember the date?
December 8th. He proposed this to me to go in and take out the family.
How did he say it to you?
He said that he had been writing some checks on the farm account, forging his dad's signature, and he was looking into buying some cattle. So he was going to be uncovered right away and cut out of everything on the farm. So he kind of had to go away. After he proposed this to me, he said, "If you back out, watching over your back because there might be a bullet coming your way.
Did you think he was serious?
You never know.
You never know. Did you take it as an actual threat from him?
No, I didn't take it as an actual, like, I'm gonna do this. It's just, yeah, it's always a possibility.
Yeah.
So I went in, let the dog out, went into mom and dad's room, took care of them, sister's room. Then I went back and did all three again just to make sure. Flipped the light on.
You flipped the light on?
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to miss.
Yeah. You didn't want to. Did anybody wake up?
Monica, after the first two shots, but she didn't even have time to get out of bed because it was boom, boom. And I didn't want them to know what hit him. Like, I'm not a fucking animal.
No.
Well, I guess I kind of am now. Found the avgas in the garage where he told me it would be. Started the fire. Had to shoot the dog because the dog was coming at me when I lit the fire. In hindsight, I probably should have thrown it into the house, but it's 50 or 20/20 hindsight, right?
Mm.
So at this point, I had the truck running, and then I just walked out my same tracks into the truck. Met Jason, got dropped off. Yeah.
Okay, you ready for my question?
Yeah.
How did you pass the lie detector test?
Well, I figured out that the fidget butt pad that you sit on, when you took, as they ask you 10 questions, 2 of them are truth, 3 of them are predetermined that you're going to lie to these questions, and then a couple of them are about the case. So they'd ask you your 2 truth questions, the case questions, and then the questions that you're supposed to lie to them to. And I just gave an extra fidget with my ass on the butt pad. It's a fight or flight response, the guy told me. When your body goes to lie, it's a natural thing.
How did you learn this?
I just figured it out while I was sitting there.
Really?
Yeah.
And then how did you light it up?
I had a torch lighter. I've still got the lighter, actually.
Yeah. Where's it at?
It's in my truck. I've got it here.
Do you? Do you understand how I can help you? Like, you understand? And I've never asked you for nothing?
Nope.
I'm not making you any promises?
Yeah.
What made you want to talk? Like, just talk to me freely like this?
Well, if you're trying to help Jane. If it helps Jane, it helps me.
Okay. Have you ever killed anybody else in your life?
Nope.
Never?
Never.
You got balls of steel, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Cool.
So would it be safe to say you're a stone cold killer?
I guess.
Do you feel remorseful?
Little bit.
Just a little?
Yeah.
Do you think they got what they deserved?
I know Gordon did. I think Sandy didn't, but you can't.
And it was all over because Jason told you he had wrote checks, forged his signature, and it was going to come out. And then he was scared he's going to be cut out.
And plus, I think they were talking to cut him right out of the farm, too.
Josh also led his new Bezzy mates to the murder weapon, and he told the undercover cops that in return for this, Jason was supposed to pay Josh a nice, tidy 50 G's, baby. It was not long after that Jason and Josh realized that they were a pair of dickheads and had just confessed to the police. They were both arrested on the 15th of August 2014 and charged with the murders of Gordon, Sandra, and Monica.
A lot of us knew the family really well, you know, and it's just hard to believe that it's this close to home.
RCMP alleged 38-year-old Jason Klaus did not act alone. He, along with his friend 29-year-old Joshua Frank, are facing first-degree murder charges in the deaths of the Klaus family. A tarp now covers what's left of the family home near Castor. It's here the bodies of Gordon and Monica were found in the rubble last December. Sandra's body was never recovered, but police believe she did die in the home.
Both Jason and Josh would point the finger at the other one, saying they were the real killer. The motive was to steal that truck, yeah, the one that would be found abandoned on the side of the road, and also that deer head worth apparently 200 grand, you know. The only person that's worth 200 grand to was Jason's coked out brain. Regardless, Jason was broke. His gambling, drug, and drink habit caught up with him. And he had been forging checks, forging his dad's signature, and Gordon was catching on. Jason would soon be out on his arse. So, Jason's version of what happened was that after a drink and cocaine-fueled night, they both hatched a plan together to steal the truck and the deer head. Jason said he dropped Josh off. Josh went in, Jason didn't see anything, and together they left. Then Jason got a call later on about the fire, but he had no idea Jason killed his family and set the house on fire. Josh said nope, other way around. Jason went in. He heard gunshots, but was too scared to do anything. Both their stories would change 100 times, so nobody actually knows, exactly what happened. But it's believed that, Jason and Josh, they were drinking, doing drugs all night. Then at 4 a.m., Jason dropped Josh in to steal the truck and the deer head while he was in the house getting the deer head. Somebody woke up, and so Josh murdered the entire family and set the house on fire. The trial began in November 2017. They both, as they did the entire time, pointed the finger at each other and said they were scared of each other. So even if they did do what you think they did, and they didn't, they were scared, so, not their fault. Yeah, that old one. Unfortunately, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card, though, so. In the end, they had their own words on video. They were both found guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder, and both sentenced to life without parole for 25 years. And so ends this old one. It's a bit ironic that the family name was Klaus, and this happened right around Christmas, because it's not merry in any way. Kind of amazing, though. The conversations were quite the present for the police. Incredible how open he is with what he did, thinking he's, hot shit, real cool dude. Hey, I'm one of you guys, That didn't work out too well for you, did it, Josh? What happened to the deer head, by the way? I know you're asking. No one knows. Either it burned up in the fire or was lost somewhere. Jason and Josh have given, contradicting accounts of that too, like everything else. 200k me bollocks. Kind of amazing how many lies are in this story, though. You can't really believe anything. In fact, the most believable thing are Jason saying that ghosts were yapping away at him. He was having great crack with them. Because Jason is obviously off his rocker. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with this guy. Here, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next L1. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Mike out.